All right, welcome. Apologize. We're getting started about 6 minutes late, but I'm so excited to share something because it's something that I think a lot of us have been impacted, particularly those of us in the United States, where there's been a lot of chaos and a lot of stuff that feels pretty bad, right, happening in the world and in our day-to-day work. There's absolutely things that are going to detract us. There's going to be things that are outside of our control. And whether that's happening in the larger world, whether that's happening in in our workplace, maybe it's a bad, really negative customer experience. Maybe it's a coworker that we work with. It's someone on social media. I'm sure we've all had that experience where you do something and then maybe you post it, you put yourself out there, you're being vulnerable, and then there's some nice engagement, and then there's that one negative comment, right? And then it's like and it kind of just like feels like it just kind of sucks your soul a little bit. So I have brought on one of my dear friends, Anna. So Anna Choi, Anna S. Choi, and I'm going to have you, as we kind of bring you in, we're going to have you introduce yourself here. Let's do split screen here. And Anna has been such a dear friend. You and I, Anna, have been working together now for several months, and we have had the opportunity to have some really great conversations. You have helped me because, like a lot of people, I'm fairly empathic. When something negative has happened, like when we saw the riots this last summer, it was painful for me. Like, I get it. And I understand that, people have a right to be able to vocalize and so forth on their issues, but it impacts me and I feel the weight of that. And so similarly in the United States, last week again, it's hard not to get sucked into that. So those are some very immediate and specific examples of things. Now, again, we're talking primarily to people, in your professional lives. If you're a business owner, if you're an executive, if you're a leader, I want to make sure, and my sensitivity, Anna, is how do we continue to show up in a way that, where we are being present for people, where we are delivering our 100%, because as leaders, as professionals, we always want to do that. So before I have you get into all that, Anna, that's the introduction of what we want to talk about. Could you please introduce a little bit more about you and your great work?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Josh. It's awesome to be on here. Very timely topic. And what we do is we help high achieving conscious business leaders and entrepreneurs really be able to scale and grow in flow while preventing burnout. We've all been there before. And so we don't want to go back. But how do we continue to grow with all the new chaos that is around us, whether that's remote working or you're homeschooling or distance learning if you're a parent, or all the different added layers that have now happened. So people that we work with are really dealing with, okay, how do I, like you were saying, manage all this negative energy, make sure I don't absorb it, or how do I, not be exhausted by the end of the day from my overbooked calendar, and then I don't get good sleep and my mind doesn't shut up right before bed and things like that. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Anna, in light of what I shared earlier, this is well known, and so your clients that you have the opportunity to maybe just share who you typically work with, and those folks that are coming to you. What is the challenge that they are experiencing? And I know it can be a variety of things, right? But just to kind of start honing in on this message of reclaiming peace, maybe just kind of talk a little bit about your work professionally and like the problems that you help solve.
Yeah. Um, as I had just said, the things that my clients are dealing with right now are, they don't have they're not getting good sleep because of all the news that's happening. They don't have a
Right
solid
here.
morning.
Oh my gosh, it impacts me. I'm that guy that, my brain will wake up at 4 a.m. and start thinking about, something that, like a responsibility at work, or maybe it is, some other worry. Yeah. Thank you, brain.
Yes, totally. Or you just like book back to back to back to back to back to backs. And so you're eating at your desk and then you're exhausted by the end of the day and you're like, I just got to keep going. But, there's not a rhythm back and forth, or maybe you don't have a solid morning routine and you just kind of get up and go and, start at it. So Those are the things that people, when you can get those things in place, can really start to ground you to actually access more performance and more flow when you can deal with those things. Anyway, so I could go on more of list if you would like.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, yeah. So, I mean, these are, and here's the thing, right? These all have a financial impact to them. My inability to, to experience 100% focus because I'm detracted by something that's outside of my control, it impacts my business. So for everyone's watching this right now, this impacts your ability to show up for your loved ones, for your kids, for your customers, for your boss, your whoever, your partners. And so what we want to really do, and I'm hoping you can help with this, would be ways that we can be more resilient, ways that we can insulate ourselves, ways that we can refresh ourselves, so that we can bounce back from, let's say, a day like you just mentioned, like my day to day to day to day,
Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
I'm scheduled basically from 9 to 5, like nonstop every day. And if I'm lucky, I do get that 15 minutes to go grab something to eat. So
Yes.
listen, that we're human, and maybe talk about like the capacity, and like I think a lot of us type A people, we pride ourselves on being achievers and being able to accomplish a lot and do what we perceive that other people may not be able to do.
Totally. Totally. So just some basic, what I'm hearing, just to make sure I got your question here, is just like, what are some basic things that we can do to ground ourselves throughout the day, stay resilient? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, just if you don't got a chunk of time in the morning, which some people, they're so in a particular habit to just go, 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 go right away. Everybody's got 1 minute. So if you can do micro moments of peace throughout the day, and whether it's right before you go to the bathroom, pair it up with a habit you're already doing, but 1 minute of some sort of movement, because mostly we are like this all day, and then we get the stress from the news and the anxiety, and it starts to build up in our shoulders or your stomach or your hips. And so it's so, so, so critical. You're not circulating literally your blood and oxygen, and you want to be able to have your energy circulate. So when you do, that can actually calm your nervous system down, as opposed to keep ramping it up into survival mode. And then when the news comes, you're even more on edge and unable to really, shield or ground from it. Instead, you're taken into it, you absorb it, and then that will stress your body even more. So there's a really good app called 1 Minute Change that has little 1 minute exercises that you can do throughout the day.
Mm,
Some of them are just like straight up push-ups or active things, but there's
yeah.
things just like this, Josh. Like you can do a pinky thumb exercise.
Wait,
Like
take us
this.
through the pinky thumb exercise. You got
Anyway, you can do all sorts of little things. Yes, because when you
right.
go like this, you go like put your thumb out
Yeah.
and then your pinky out,
Yeah.
and then switch.
Oh, that's going to take
I
some
know
practice.
it's kind of hard at
It's
first.
going to
It's
take some
awkward, but then as
practice.
you get used to it, it becomes a brain pathway. It becomes really easy. So then you can,
Yeah.
this isn't a challenge anymore. So then you can come up with something else. But that helps integrate your left and your right brain
Yeah.
actually, and ground you and gets your mind to rest, because your brain is 24/7 being worked, and it
Hmm.
needs.
And I think it's important that someone understands that, like, what we're talking about it's not woo woo stuff, right? It's I mean, this is basic mindfulness. We know that meditation, even if I don't enjoy it particularly, there's something there that works. I know that when I do it, I don't enjoy it when I do it, and there are many different ways to meditate, and that's going to be. And I'd love for you to maybe talk about why, what the impact of even just a simple, small, short meditation can have on our, our brains, our well-being, our state of being. And some, you shared with me some different ways that you can get the benefit of a meditative experience.
Yes. I mean, so all meditation actually is being conscious. Like, so in the moment of anything that you're doing, you can always bring consciousness to it. So for example, if you always walk the dog at a particular time, instead of just mindlessly walking the dog, you can be conscious and actually focus on like your core, which is for whether you're a Navy SEAL or an Olympic performer or an artist, everyone has to ground their breath. Most people don't. We don't know how to breathe well. So if you focus your awareness, not like your mind, but your awareness into your core, imagine it burning up and heating up. And then as you're taking each step, focus on the balls, not going on your heel ball, but on the balls of your feet, because that's an acupressure point that actually sends a vibration up each time and helps realign your posture and your spine. And so when you focus on your feet, tuck your tailbone in, bring your awareness into your core and let that grow. And then just smile a little, because even just a little smile relaxes your brain. There's a
Yeah.
ton of science around that. There's a whole TED talk on just even faking it like this. Your brain actually gets signals and it'll start creating hormones and things that help you. So serotonin, dopamine, etc. But anyway, so when you're able to bring consciousness to something simple as walking or eating, right? If you're just glugging down your lunch or your coffee, just do it a little slower and feel the coffee going into your mouth, feel it going all the way down into your bodies. Just make it a game. See how far can you feel the coffee coming down. And good news, if you can feel it, because that means you can actually feel your body. And as funny as that sounds, most people can't. They're so numb because they're so in their head and overworking all the time. It's like cut off. They're like walking heads with no bodies. And then, oh, oops, I got cancer. Oops, I have these like illnesses. So when you can just slow down and then feel it going into your body or the food or chewing slowly, even with your existing habits, that's not even really adding in 10 minutes. That's just enjoying and savoring the moment. You'll be able to bring that meditative consciousness into
Yeah.
your day.
Yeah. So, I know that, Tony Robbins will talk about, 90 something percent of the success or failure of a business comes down to the psychology of the business owner. And I think many of us have the temptation to want to work, 12 plus hours a day, right? Because we're more available and we're completely capable of keeping on working. But I would argue, and I think a lot of people would, who are, who work with high performance individuals, would say, no. We're going to work 8 hours a day, but you're going to work at a much higher capacity than you normally do because you're spreading yourself thin. It's better to listen, if you're going to have a key meeting with someone, you might think that these very subtle things that you're doing and saying don't mean a big difference. They do. They mean all of the difference. You being at 100% will make significant differences in your business. So the very act, Anna, of doing before work this, maybe it's a 10-minute meditative walk. And so I did exactly what you told me to do. And I said, in addition to, I don't remember if you said this, but what I would do is I would focus on, let's say, like a lamppost or something off in the distance. And I would just kind of zero in on that dot right there. And just like almost like, and not worry about, oh, I'm meditating. I wasn't worried about that, right? I was just like thoughtful of my breathing, thoughtful of my steps. And just focus, not multitasking, not looking at my phone, but in that moment, just trying to be in the moment.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what it was, but my brain afterwards said, whoa, that felt good.
Like a brain spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned that from you. So I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. And then it's like because you've refreshed and it's like you took your brain for a walk. Now it can perform better. It's able, not you, I mean, you feel better, right? But
I
you're
like
not
that.
as
I like that.
frazzled
Taking my
or
brain for a walk.
yeah, you're just able to like sell better and be with people more and listen for things that you're
Oh
not like
gosh, yes.
splitting your brain up into multitasking and into, so many different parts of yourself. So
Yeah.
just being able to feel good goes a long way. I mean, long,
Mm-hmm.
long, long way. Why else are we alive? But yeah.
I noticed, let's talk about, again, something that I think those of us in the United States have experienced. And now there's a lot of rancor, of course, online, right? Because I'm right and you're wrong. And, and all of this debate. And it can be easy to get sucked into that. What would you say about, being aware of where we invest our attention, because I know it could be tough. Like, it's really easy to want to, obsess over the news, right? But like, what thoughts would you have? And it doesn't have to be what's happening in the news. It could be anything that's happening that, the sum of it is it's going to be a net negative on our energy for the most important things in our life, the relationship that we have with our significant other, our children, our how we show up for people that we love. I think it's the height of ignorance to believe that stuff doesn't have an impact on us.
Totally. So, I mean, the first thing there's those that I feel like there's two camps when I talk to people of who are addicted to the news. They have to. It's like part of their being, and others who know how to just shut it off. Like they just turn it off.
Yeah. And by the way, I should say, like, I get you. Like, if that's you, and I don't mean to say ignorance in a bad way, right? It's just we have to acknowledge that we are the results of what we expose ourselves to.
Yes.
And so if you only expose yourself to certain voices or certain messages, it's just going to be the makeup of who you become, right? It was who was it that said that? Was it Zig Ziglar? No. I forget who it was. You're the combined average of the 5 people you hang around with.
Yes,
most.
totally. Yep.
Yeah.
You have to feed your brain what you want it, and your body what you want to become, not something else, not by default. So I personally, I because of that reason, I don't watch the news, and the important stuff filters in through sources that my husband or other people that watch it completely, and so they filter it out for me. And I'm always surprised when I interview like top leaders. This is very common.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm interested.
I thought it was just a few people. It's like, oh no, everybody, a lot of people do this, because we're so aware of that. You become what you surround yourself with. So that's like the number one thing is just shut it off. If you're someone that can't do that or going to be too addicted, and you want to, there's ways that you can just take accounts off your phone. I mean, put it on mute, silent, like put it away, turn the computer off rather than let it keep running all day. Like all the things that are going to keep notifying you of the news. There are ways to do that. The other big thing is to stay conscious online, is what I call it. So I'm very picky, just say in Facebook or in any social media platform, who I'm friends with. I don't just accept everybody. I'll have my team vet and look at people. And if they've got a ton of political stuff or a ton of anything triggering, sorry, you're just not a friend. So my feed doesn't have triggering things on it because I've cultivated that group that I'm with.
Interesting.
So that's a personal preference that I do. So I've literally I don't want to be cocooned. Like, I think it's very important to stay informed. And I'm not saying that I never look at the news. Yes, like there are times when I'm going to go check something out, but it's when it starts to get unhealthy that you're not functioning, right? Like I have someone who like literally was debilitated, like watching the news, like on the couch. And this person's not empathic. It's a software engineer. So anyway, but they couldn't function. So when it's getting to that point where it's so unhealthy, you're not functioning, obviously you need to like cut it off. Just like, alcohol, you just got to know where your limits are and cut it off.
Yeah.
But if you are someone that can't help themselves, just, you got to take it in steps, then take off look throughout your day. And if you always watch evening news in the morning or at night, take off one of those times. So I had a client that always watched news right before bed. The 2 hours before bed are so critical of what you put in bed, because that's what you'll dream about. That's what you'll think about.
No kidding. Yeah. Last night, I just watched a show, and there was a lot of angst in this marriage relationship to the point that they were going to separate and divorce. And there was, all that kind of, that was the last thing I watched before I went to bed. Guess what I dreamt about? Yeah, it really, and again, Anna, what you're sharing, these are the secrets of top achievers who you get to work with. So you get to hear firsthand. I think achievers tend to at least want to be more self-aware, right? We want to be very honest with ourselves.
I would say, bar none, they're hungry for personal growth and they're into personal development. They have to be, because that's like, it's all an inner game. So if you're, I mean, I don't even consider that people aren't looking there, because to a certain degree, everyone has to get to a particular level. But instead, you know, how do you keep optimizing that? How do you keep reaching for that next step? So, you know, if you're the Olympic analogy, right? As an Olympic athlete, of course, you know, you have coach, you have a support group, you have all the exercises, you have the structure to like get you to that next level. The question is, how do you want to get the gold every time, or do you want to get the
Yeah.
gold sometimes? Like knowing what the degree to which you want success is the degree to which you'll need that personal growth. You'll need to keep working on your mindset and doing the inner work.
Yeah, top achievers always work with coaches. You know, Anna, I've had the opportunity to work with you, and we actually work with one another. You know, it has been really enlightening, because I think if you're not working with a coach, you're trying to read the label from the inside of the bottle. Like it's just a good coach will ask you the right questions, and questions that maybe we're not considering. And so I really, really recommend. I mean, it's one thing to like, you know, watch lots of great YouTube videos. You should be doing that. It's one thing to read lots of great books. You should be doing that, or listen to audiobooks, listen to great podcasts. You should be doing that. You should be watching this, right? And then Anna, would you mind sharing just a little bit, because I know you've been so helpful to me, about, you know, if someone's like, okay, yeah, Anna, I'm really upset with, like, maybe it's politics or news or this situation at work or a family situation, and I need help, you know, living, you know, compartmentalizing my life better, or protecting myself better, or rebounding, or becoming more resilient, becoming more mindful, sleeping better. These are all things I know that, as you work with, you know, again, top level achievers like me, this is the outcome that you help them create. And so for someone who's like, yeah, tell me more, where should they go? And, you know, where can they learn more, and how could they potentially maybe have a quick visit with you?
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you just go to my website, www.annasanchoi.com, right there on the front page, there is a book a consult button. And on there, you can really have just a quick conversation with me to evaluate and look at what are you dealing with right now? Where are you headed? What are the energy drains? What's the ideal vision that you have for yourself to be in maximum performance and flow during the day? And then what are the best next actions to get there? And so normally this is like my camera, by the way, keeps going on and off the light. It's like,
No,
I don't
you're
know.
good. You're good.
So I'm in shadow right now. I'm self-conscious about it. But anyway, okay. So, so in this consult, that's what we do. And this is, you know, a $250 value for like a half hour. But you know, for anybody who is watching here, that's part of, you know, Josh's community and my community, I'm happy to offer that complimentary during this time, and really just have a really down to earth conversation. And I promise you'll have like actual actions to take that'll transform, or you'll have some sort of paradigm shift that'll make a difference. And then we can go from there. So that's what I invite you to do, is you can just click on the front page, book a consult. If you're not quite ready for that, if we can maybe add a link later to an energy state quiz that helps you just kind of self-assess yourself of where you're at. Just in taking it, you might then get indicators. Oh, wow, maybe I should do this or that, that you hadn't thought of before. So I'll go ahead and we can add that link below as well.
Yeah. So you'll see it right here on the screen, annasanchoi.com. Is that right? Did I get that right?
There you go.
Yeah. It's right there. Yep. And so the value, Anna, of one aha moment, right? Clarity. Like so my wife is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And, you know, it's so hard when we do what we do. And, you know, we're kind of just like in the groove, we're in the trenches, we're living our life, we're masterful at what we do. But there are performance things that, you know, Michael Jordan is just not going to, I'm dating myself here, right? You know, just because I watched the dance again, but so I'm
Like
mindful of this, right? But whoever it is right there, you know, a coach is going to see stuff that the athlete is just not like when the coach points it out, the athlete goes, oh yeah, you're right. Yep. And then the coach offers specific advice. Like that stuff really matters. Like it's a great example, right? And so do you, as a business owner, do you want to be able to engage with people and ultimately convert 5% of people or 25% of people? Well, you get to decide, right? Because 25% would mean your income would go up by 500%. And that's the sort of thing, right? That you learn this stuff. And the faster you can learn this, the less you have to keep beating your head against the wall. Like, and, if you're tired of being, emotionally drained, Anna, you've given me some wonderful things that I can do during the day to recharge. Because I think there was a time, I think a period of time where I really felt just like, especially before my vacation, and I
Yeah,
took
I
a
was gonna
week
say, I remember
off.
that
I
100%
really,
close. Yeah.
yeah. I felt like, okay, here I am, the monkey on the stage again, with the top hat or whatever, I'm going to go and perform. And, I took a week off. And that's, vacations will recharge you. Mindful minutes, mindful moments will recharge you. And then, as much pride as we have on ourselves as achievers, there's always room for growth, no matter who you are. And so,
Yes.
yeah, would you mind maybe just real quick as
Yeah,
we're
I was
kind
just
of
gonna say
wrapping up
you're
here?
missing like the best part. So like he came,
Oh yeah,
we're talking and we were just looking at the source of so he was just sharing. He's like, oh my gosh, I had this amazing thing. I had all these calls and I closed like all of them, like 100%.
yeah.
Like normally I'm happy with like 20, 30%, right? And we looked and it was like, duh, the source was going on vacation because he was just so when you're so relaxed and you're grounded, it just is infectious and attractive, and people want to say yes to that. And so often, what we'll do is we'll push harder or try to work smarter or whatever that means, which just make me get technology and you just do more now. But instead of working harder to be able to close more and get more volume, it's like very counterintuitive. It takes a lot of courage. The work is actually in not, it's in stopping, it's in taking the rest. But when you have the courage to balance things out, then it comes back. It will come back, and it'll be much more sustainable in the long term as well. So if you want to have higher, closing rates naturally without effort, without all the training. Anyway, that's what was super awesome to see your result with.
Anna, you're a dear friend of mine. Thank you so much. Again, I got to tell you, like, as someone I've had multiple seven-figure companies. I'm very, very grateful for the great coaches that I have in my life. There's no way I could do what I do. And again, I'm just one piece of a larger company, but I still have to show up at 100%. There's no way I can do 100% if I'm not strengthened by the people that I surround myself with. And so, Anna, you're my go-to person for, okay, Anna, here's, anything around like mindfulness and being at peace and being able to refocus, not getting drained, not getting burnt out. Like, what's the value? Like, if you could become someone in business that just never gets burnt out, or just like when you recognize you're starting to get that feeling, exactly what to do so that you can bounce out of that or refresh very quickly. That is so crazy valuable. So the more valuable or the more powerful that you become in business, the more greater impact you get to have in the world. It impacts your bottom line, and it shields you from the negativity that you probably don't want to be experiencing in your life. So as we wrap up here, we got Anna's son Choi as your website. I'm a big fan of Anna, as you could tell. Any closing words, just in light of maybe like what to do in the months to come? Because in the United States, we hope that, okay, there's going to be the transfer of power, and then that's it. No more chaos in in the world, right?
Right.
Okay, that's naive, right? We know that there's just going to be stuff that's going to come up.
Oh, I could say so many things. So, a couple things. Number one is whether it's with a coach or someone else who you need to find someone that you can just share with, okay? And it could be your therapist, but I'm talking about someone who gets your world and can
Yeah.
actually like share all that's going on, because most people don't stop to just do that, and then
Yeah.
it builds up like all that emotional
It's
turmoil.
so therapeutic to just get it off your shoulders,
Yes.
whoever that is.
Reveal what you're just dealing with emotionally,
Yeah.
right? And we can turn that emotional turmoil into rocket fuel, like, and into something that's going to boost your business and give you an energy boost for growing your company. So let's transform that rather than hide from it or stuff it down. Find an outlet in which you can do that with someone you trust, that can help shift that for you. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is making sure that you have I like totally blanked out from them. It's okay. It'll come to me. Anyway, but making sure that, oh, I remember, we need to unify. And that skill set is tough. I'm not saying you need to convince anyone. In fact, don't. That's a waste of energy. It's a drain. Instead, look for what you have in common and speak to that when you're in
Mm,
conversation, maybe by accident with someone that you might realize is, thinks differently or voted differently or whatever.
yeah.
um, Focus on what you do have in common and speak to that if you need to talk to it. I know a lot of people just avoid it, but I think if we're going to work together in this country or any company or in a family unit anywhere, we have it's a cool thing to have diverse perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So division is, if you flip it, it's diversity of thought and experience, that when everyone's open and in a learning and curious space, it's better, right?
Yeah.
And there's studies and studies upon how diversity proves to be better, both for the bottom line and for the long term, and for your health and your well-being. So just practice little ways that you can practice like unity conversations where you're just looking for what you do have in common and focusing there.
Yeah. Very, very cool. All right, Anna Sun Choi, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fantastic. And again, anyone who's watching this, either live or after the fact, you go to Anna Sun Choi. I can vouch for Anna. She's good people. So Anna, thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your wisdom here.
Thank you, Josh. It's been awesome.